Hello, and welcome to the very first video for the Songwriters Workshop. In this series, I will attempt to write songs based on the process and techniques of famous songwriters. Each video will focus on a different songwriter's writing habits, musical inspirations, and creative process, while also including an original song written using those techniques to document my own growth as a songwriter. I hope these videos will offer inspiration and support to new and veteran songwriters alike. So let's take a look at our first songwriter. For the first video, I couldn't think of a better place to start than with Jimmy Webb. Jimmy got his first big hit in 1967 when the Fifth Dimension recorded his song Up, Up and Away. He went on to write songs for artists like Glenn Campbell, Linda Ronstadt, and Art Garfunkel. His most well-known song is arguably MacArthur Park, that has what Jimmy calls a classical sense of ebb and flow, movements, if you like, into a long pop song, and is filled with vivid imagery, including the iconic scene of a cake melting in the rain and the singer lamenting that,
"I'll never have that recipe again. Oh no!"
The research for this video comes from Jimmy's amazing book on songwriting, Tunesmith. Tunesmith gives an in-depth guide on the art of songwriting, with information on everything from types of rhymes, song forms, chord progressions, melody writing, and much more. Since Jimmy covers so much in Tunesmith, I'm going to break Jimmy's songwriting techniques into a few videos and write several songs using his methods. For this video, I want to talk about Jimmy's recommendations on how to expand on the idea of your song. Before writing a single verse or chord progression, I want to figure out what my song will be about, where it's going, and the ways that it could get there. Now, when I say the idea of your song, Jimmy contends that it is hard to prove where songwriting is concerned, that idea and title are not virtually synonymous. Having a title means you have an idea of the destination you want your song to arrive at, though the title might change by the time you get there. Along with that, you also want to know what your song will be about, what emotion or story you want to convey to go along with the idea of your title. Since this is my first song, I wanted to convey the feeling of starting something new and seeing what I could do as a songwriter. I decided to title my song Simple, since I wanted to start with writing something that I wouldn't put pressure on to be some amazing, intricate song like MacArthur Park. I wanted to see where I was starting from with my songwriting in order to see where I could go. I think a lot of people give up on songwriting or any other creative pursuit because they are not immediately good at it. But it can take writing a dozen bad songs before you write one that you like. So I decided to write about starting simply, learning what works and what doesn't, and finding ways to improve. Jimmy gives two recommendations in Tunesmith about how to get started and isolate the idea of your song, both of which I tried out. Jimmy's first technique is what I would call a general brainstorming. He recommends listing every word, phrase, comment, cliché, historical reference, literary reference, poetic reference, feeling, instinct, remembrance of actual fact, image, dream, fantasy, or observation about your subject. So I wrote down everything I could think of related to the word simple, from things like the simple joy of a melody you've heard 100 times to quotes from Aristotle and Shakespeare. One of Jimmy's book recommendations, Bartlett's Familiar Quotations, came in handy for this as well, for avoiding or searching for cliches. Once I was finished, I had a bank of words, phrases, images, and feelings surrounding the word simple that I would go back to during my lyric writing. Jimmy's second technique helped me flesh out where my song was heading and what specifically I wanted to say with it. This one has you write a letter, either to yourself or someone else, where you lay out what you would like to convey with the song. For my letter, I wrote to myself, but also to any songwriter who was starting out. I asked them to start with something simple, not to write for anyone but themselves, but to also accept help along the way when they need it. Through this exercise, I came to the conclusion that simple doesn't always mean easy, and that the only way to grow is to try. After finishing those two exercises, I had a solid idea of where my song was heading and even some individual lines that I ended up implementing into the lyrics. Jimmy says that after a writing session, it's important to spend generous amounts of time thinking about what you've done and what you intend to do next, So after I thought about what I had written in my list and letter for some time, I started writing the lyrics and music for my song. Like I said, I want to make more videos and songs where I outline Jimmy's lyric and music writing technique, so look out for those in the future. For now, while those sessions play in the background, I wanted to share a few other methods Jimmy talks about in Tunesmith about starting a song. Jimmy recommends carrying a notebook with you to record the things you hear or see in your day-to-day life that might inspire songs. An overheard conversation, people's body language, something you hear on TV, anything can become an inspiration for a song. Jimmy himself wrote lyrics to MacArthur Park based on things he actually saw happen in the park while he was there. He also says to be as detailed as possible when taking notes. What did they look like? What were they wearing? How did they react to the people around them, etc. Another thing Jimmy talks about is the importance of knowing where your song is heading. He says, "The amateur songwriter's greatest single failing, and one that is immediately obvious to the listener, is that the writer does not know exactly where the song is going. While you may come up with some amazing individual lines or imagery for your song, if there isn't a specific destination for it, the listener will be left feeling unsatisfied." Jimmy also recognizes other methods used by his fellow songwriters in finding ideas for songs. Things like free associating writing or chain of consciousness singing to find a place to start have worked for other songwriters. It's about finding what works for you. So, now that my writing is done, here's the demo of the song that I wrote using Jimmy's advice. Start with something simple. See what you can do. Start with what you know. From there you can grow. Then you'll know you grew. A simple thing is sacred, like a well-known song. Refine it in your style, and in a little while the world will sing along. Something hard to see when looked at simply can help you understand. And when you return to help the others learn, they'll see where you began. On the road ahead, if you feel you're not enough, help is there for you. Ask for it and soon the path won't feel so tough. Remember, simple isn't easy to do. So that was the song, and I think it's a pretty decent starting place. Jimmy's techniques on expanding on the idea of the song really helped create a clearer view of what I wanted to express with the lyrics and the music, and I would definitely recommend Tunesmith to anyone who is interested in songwriting. It's a comprehensive and detailed account on how songwriting works and how to get started. Let me know what you thought of the song in the comments, and if you have tried any of Jimmy's songwriting methods. Leaving a like and subscribing to the channel would also help out immensely as we get started. Thank you for joining for the first video from the Songwriters Workshop. We'll have more videos with more songwriters coming out soon, so I'll see you then.